Hey kids, and welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about creating effective prayer spaces. And prayer spaces can be the most important part of your prayer experience or your retreat experience. So I'm talking about being a youth minister or a DRE and trying to create a space for teenagers or young adults or anybody really, and making a space that is appropriate, not only liturgically, but gets you to where you want to be. And the interesting thing is, prayer spaces are so subjective. There's no specific way, and we're not talking about the Mass. We are talking when you're doing a retreat or you're doing a prayer study or Bible study, and you're trying to create an atmosphere. Typically, people try to create a church atmosphere. And for whatever reason, even if it's available, they don't use the church. So, firstly, use the church more. That's what it's for. It's already designed to be a space of prayer and of reflection. So use it if you can. Okay? So if you can't, let's go back. What are we talking about? Well, prayer has to bring you closer to God. And here are a couple pitfalls in creating a prayer environment. One, it's just too busy. You have to not think about prayer, a prayer environment or a prayer space, as bringing you to God. Your book and candle and rosary or whatever, your crown of thorns, whatever you choose to be your centerpiece, is not going to draw people closer to God. Yeah. So, don't worry, I'm going to explain this. Let's backtrack a little bit. What is the reason for doing a prayer space? For a teenager, you're trying to give them prayer experiences that they've never had before. And that's not to say that you want them doing something out of their comfort zone. We used to say that a lot in the 90s and in the early 2000s. Let's get them out of their comfort zone. That's not where it is. Christ didn't call us to pull people out of their comfort zones. Christ called us to go to people where they're at. So that's what you have to think about when you're creating this prayer space. Are you creating this prayer space for yourself, or are you creating this prayer space for God? You thought I was going to say the kids. And it's not, because this is it. I've seen some beautiful ones. I've seen some that are the size of an entire room. I've seen some that are just so basic. And the ones that are the most successful have a couple traits in common. All right. So, number one, it's a theme. So, it's good when it goes with the rest of the environment. Let's say you're doing a fisherman theme and you have a net or something nautical, maybe maybe a steering wheel. You have that, and that's your centerpiece, and then you build from that. What doesn't make sense is when you have a theme like fishing and you have a cow as your centerpiece. It doesn't fit. So number one, what is your theme? Find one item, one, not 1,000, just one item that says that theme to you. Okay? Nautical, it's the steering wheel. I could take that steering wheel, I could set it on a table, put a candle next to it, open the Bible to the fishers of men. Simple. And it conveys a point. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dim the lights. All right, why am I dimming the lights? Because creating a prayer space isn't about making a space where God is present. Making a prayer space, and this is number two, this is the most important thing, making a prayer space is about removing the distractions. Because God is in that space, regardless of what we put in that little, on that little table or in the middle of the room. God is in that space. So, as a minister, our goal is to bring ourselves and the group that we're with into God's presence. And that's the mystery right there, because we're always in his presence. Let's be open to that presence. So we dim the lights because we don't want the posters on the wall. We don't want all that stuff everywhere. We dim the lights because we want the focus to be on, what is it? We said the nautical theme. So is it necessary? Is it necessary to do that? You know? If you're too busy, you spend too much time thinking about, what about this, what about that, what's the color, what's this, and you miss out on the beauty that is fishing. What if, and you can try this, because I bet you it'll work really well. How about instead of taking all that time to do the fishers of men, you take out the scripture, you light a candle. We like our fire. Catholics like our fire. And get a fish hook. Not a super huge fish hook, not a really small fish hook. And this only works if you have like a group of 10 or smaller. So maybe a small group activity. Just grab that fish hook, candle. And when you gather together, without saying a word, but with a big motion so people can see the fish hook, you set the fish hook into the wax and let the candle melt. And then you read the scripture about the fishers of men. All the time while that wax is melting around the hook. Because without all the other distractions, like the motorcycle in the background, I love living in the country, but without all those distractions, you can think about what it is to fish and what it is that you are trying to convey to those teenagers. Why put the hook in the wax? And let me tell you, if you do that, and I've done this by myself, this is why I know. If you put the hook in the wax slowly gets softer and the hook starts to sink. But what's also happening is the hook is getting hot, and that heat is causing more of the wax to melt. And when more of the wax melts, you get this beautiful reflection of the light. So who are we if we're not that hook that we must go into the presence of God, the fire? We are the hook. We're in the presence of God, and we can choose to allow God's love to burn within us and radiate that love, which eventually creates more heat and more light. Or we can choose to not be in his presence and not get burned, because sometimes you get burned when you stand out. So are you seeing where I'm at? You get this image, and that's just one idea. And you have a group of 10 people, and every one of them, as you're reading that scripture, they're thinking their own thing about that hook and about that wax. And your centerpiece, and that will probably stay with them forever, will cost you a couple of dollars. Maybe nothing. Because I bet you could probably go into the church and say, hey, can I get a big candle? And can I get, I'm sure you got a fishing hook, or you got somebody that fishes. There's a fisherman. There you go, or fisherwoman. Anyway, it's easy. It doesn't have to be a clean hook. It doesn't have to be a new hook. It just has to represent us. So, there's your activity. Prayer. Remember, remove the distractions. Don't try to create God. Remove the distractions. Stay within scripture. Stay within what your theme is and what you're trying to teach, and you will succeed. in not only creating a very prayerful and wonderful environment, but giving them two items used all the time, the candle and the hook, giving them two items that when they see for the rest of their life, they may come back to that story and how we must be the fishers of men. So until next time, work hard, be kind, and have fun.